Hey everybody, welcome back to Thistle Hill Farmstead. Today we're going to start doing some framing on our barn. You can see I've got some lumber that was delivered here, and I'm going to use this to do the girts and some of the other interior wall framing. We're still going to use our lumber that we had sawmilled, which is over here, for the interior stalls and some other loft areas and things. So you may think, why do you have all this wood sawmilled if he's going to buy wood? But I wanted this dimensional lumber here for the walls and things, and I needed pressure treated ground contact 2x6s to go around the bottom also. So that's why I went to buying lumber instead of using what I had sawmilled. So let's get started and see how the process goes. So you can see out here I've got all kind of stuff out on the deck here. What I did was I have a big air compressor inside the garage, and I thought, well, I'll just roll it out here and use it for the nail gun. But I don't have any power out here yet, so I'm running an extension cord from the chicken coop, and it's a relatively small extension cord, and it wouldn't power that large air compressor. So I thought, well, let me use my generator. It should do it. Well, this generator is only rated for, I believe, 14 amps on the circuit, and I don't know if that generator was a 20 amp, needed 20, but it kept tripping the breaker every time I would turn it on. So then I drug out the big boy back there. That's the 5,000 watt generator back there, but then I couldn't get it started. So I said, all right, I'm done with this. I'm not messing around anymore. So I just ran up to Lowe's and purchased this little pancake air compressor here, and it should run my nail gun just fine. So that's why I've got all this mess out here to finally just have to go buy something. But that's the way it goes sometimes. So let's unbundle our lumber and start putting some of these pressure treated ones around the bottom for the girts. All right, let's move a couple things off of here, out of the way. All right, let's cut open our lumber here and see what we got. Ooh, this is tight, tight, tight. Woo, there we go. Make sure none of this stuff moves. Nope, it stayed right where it was, so that's good. Get my gloves. All right, let's get started here and see what we can do. Do. I borrowed this nail gun from a friend, so I have to see how this thing works. I need to put some oil in it. A couple drops. And then hook it up to our little air compressor we bought. So I have this thing set on 75 pounds. I guess that's going to be enough. I'll find out once we drive a nail or two, but I guess that'll be enough to drive these nails. Oh man. All right, these are heavy. Boy. let's see. I don't know how long these are. I may have to cut them to fit. Let's see. Nope, I think it'll be all right. Yeah, I may have to trim the edge a little bit. So let me do that, because it's going to be, let me get another one to go over there. Oh, and these will definitely have to be cut here, because I'm going to have to, well, maybe not. Let's see. Well, look at that. That's actually a little short. But that is 12 foot center. It's supposed to be 12 feet center to center. So today, lay the barn out differently. Let me try another one here. I got one that's a little bent up. We'll see what happens here with this one. Yep. Let's get this one to the center. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's barely going to go in there though, but that should be fine. All right, well, let's try a nail and see what happens. Hey. Hey guys, it's the next day, and as I was putting the video together for these girts that I put on, I realized I didn't give any kind of dimensions or any rationale about the spacing or anything like that. So I think I made a little boo-boo, but I went back. I like to watch R&R Builders. The guy's name is Kyle, who owns R&R Builders, and he builds pole barns all day long, and he has great videos. The channel is great. If you haven't checked him out, go check his channel out. He's a lot more descriptive and probably a better person to follow if you're looking at building a pole barn than I am, for sure. But that's Kyle at R&R Builders. So I looked at one of his videos about a story pole, and what a story pole is just a pole that you mark off your dimensions for your girts, and then you can mark all your lumber. He does his builds basically laying his walls down and then standing them up. Obviously we did this one differently. We have the poles up and everything, and now I'm going and putting the girts on afterwards, which is much more work. But what I think I messed up on is maybe not messed up. Messed up's maybe too big a word. But I put this board at, I believe, 40 some odd inches, because I was, in my mind, I had that I was going to have a 4-foot wainscot. And I did look it up, and you can have a 3 or a 4-foot wainscot. So what I did was I just came off the ground, and 48 inches is right here in the middle of this board. So I thought, well, you know, I can come up or down either way. But now that I look at it, go away, B. Now that I look at it, I think a 3-foot wainscot might look better. So all I need to do is come back and put a board here where 3 foot is. I don't think I'll take this off. Too much work to take all those off. Like I said, I watched one of the storyboard videos from Kyle, and he, on his story pole, he did 39 inches to the first girt, and then 32 between each one. And that's, I guess, considering a 3-foot wainscot. So basically what I've got here is I put my my pressure treated ground contact 2x6 on the ground here, and then I came up off the ground to my first one, 45 inches, which then gives me right at 4 feet 48 inches to the center if I did a 4-foot wainscot. And then between these, I kind of just measured to the top of the ridge peak here, and then I divided that, and I think it was 90 inches, so I divided it, wound up being 30 inches between each center to center between each girt. So that's what I did, basically 30 inches between. It gave me some even spacing. So I'm going to think about this. If I do this, I'll just need to put another girt down here around at the 3-foot mark. And then I'll have a girt where I'm going to put my wainscot. So that's it. You know, this is real life video. You know, good, the bad, and the ugly. Sometimes you do it good, sometimes you don't. I'm not a professional barn builder. I'm kind of doing this on my own because I want to. And but like I said, I watched a couple other YouTube videos. The R&R Builder, Kyle at R&R Builders, are really good. Reference to watch. He does everything from ground up. So I hope that helped out and gave you a little bit of information on why the spacing is like it is. So we'll keep going and see how it turns out. So here's what I wound up with after putting the other girt on. That lower girt is at 3 feet off the ground. So I just went around the whole building and put another 2x6 at 3 feet. And yeah, it may look a little strange, but it's not going to hurt. Never hurts to have more lumber and support around than less. So there you go. And that'll give me the option to put a 3-foot wainscot there, or 4-foot, depending on what I want to do. I can't decide right now whether I want a 3 or a 4. This is a very tall barn. The barn, I believe I marked a couple of sections here for the height, is 20 feet up to the top there. And it's 15 to the top of this ridge, and then 20 up to the top of that. So, and then our door, I think we're gonna haven't decided yet whether I wanna do a 10-foot door or 12-foot high door here. Again, I want everything to look proportional. That center aisle is 14 feet wide. So I don't know if 10 by 14, you know, it's gonna be too short and stubby and wide, or if I need to go 12 by 14. If you have any suggestions on that, put them in the comments. I'd love to hear. And also, if you've done this before and you're wondering about, or and you have some experience with the wainscot, whether to put a 3 or a 4-foot wainscot, I'd like to know that too. So put those suggestions in the comments, and I would love to hear from you.